You know, I'm not the most superstitious person, but I'm also not the least superstitious person. Which is why whenever weird things happen, I have a tendency to get curious. I'm like, okay, if it's not this or any of these logical explanations, what could it be? And it's very rare I have an experience that is like that. However, there is one that every time I think about, I always link back to, yeah, I can't think of any explanation for that. And it is actually the story that inspired my first video on this YouTube channel. My first 3 videos, in fact, the Wendigo of the South trilogy. Main inspiration for it, of course. I mean, a lot of it was, obviously there wasn't anyone killed or anything like in the Wendigo of the South, but I'm gonna get into what it was and just how it all went down based on my memory. So I was on the property I'm on now. Can't quite give that away, and you know, can't really give much details. But I was here, and this was like 2 to 3 years ago. I was like 12 years old when it happened. So it was the middle of the day, you know, like 3 o'clock, I'd say. And I had, well, actually, no, let's go back to the night before, because that's when it really starts. The night before, I go to sleep, everything seems normal, and I go to sleep. So while I'm asleep, I have a dream. And not the Martin Luther King kind, although I am having more of those kinds now. It was a dream where I was out in front of the house. Give you an idea, the porch, if you can call it that, is basically a cement square. Not very big, maybe like 2 feet across, like 2 by 2 feet. It's about the size of it. In front of the door, I was just I was standing in front of the house. And the landscape was all different. Because out here, in real life, it is very flat out. But in the dream, there were trees everywhere. It was like a forest. And in the middle of the woods, across the driveway, was a dumpster. Terrifying already. Dumpster. But the dream was in black and white. That's the only time. This one dream was the only time I ever had a dream in black and white. And so, you could imagine my surprise as I'm sort of like, okay, what is this? This is not what the house looks like. Of course, when you're dreaming, you don't typically realize it's a dream until you wake up. So I'm confused. And out of the dumpster, huge dumpster, by the way, out of it comes a towering, massive creature. It looked like, it's going to sound kind of stupid, but a scamp from the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Not the remaster, the classic model. It looked like that. Had huge fangs, sharp pointed ears, sort of, forget what they're called, like the legs that are like not straight, they like curve to the back, and then they're kind of like a dog's, like the hind legs. Had that going on. And it was gray. It was a gray creature. Gets out of the dumpster. It's got a spaded tail. It looks at me. And then it runs off the property out of beyond the fence. So I wake up, I'm like, that was a weird dream. Okay. Just a dream. Let's continue on with the day. So, I actually get into the area where the next part happens now. Me and my brother were outside playing with our dogs, 3 of them, and I had a Gatorade perched just right on that little gap there, perched right up there. And I think it was a bit smaller back then, but whatever. Had it there, you know, nothing too out of the ordinary. I'm playing with the dogs, and suddenly, it falls over. Gust of wind, completely reasonable. So my brother goes, picks it up, puts it back. He starts walking to, go back to playing with the dogs, and he stops. And he looks back out here. And then he looks. Don't want to give too much away here. He looks in this direction. And of course, it was broad daylight out. He looks to this bush. I don't notice. I am busy with the dogs. And he goes to me. He tells me he thinks he saw something or someone. So I'm like, what do you mean? And so I'm looking through the gap. I don't see anything. I'm like, okay, maybe if I climb on top of the fence and look out, I will be able to see what it was, if there's anything there. And I don't think I got the best eyesight, but I tried and I looked. I didn't see anything. There's nothing out there. So I was a bit confused. I was like, okay. But, and he gets real into a lot of those kind of videos on YouTube and all of that, as far as like all that stuff goes. I barely said a word about the dream, by the way. So I'm more inclined to believe, like, okay, maybe he's tugging my leg here because he seems genuinely afraid of something. So, go inside, let her dad know. And so he goes and he looks around that area. Looking, see if there's someone there, someone who shouldn't be on the property. Because that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, maybe there's an intruder on the property. But while Dad's gone looking, I asked my brother to draw what he saw. And what he drew was a pitch black figure, very small, hunched behind a sage bush. And that in itself would have been like, okay, weird, could have been anything. But then it had two elongated, pointed ears, just like the thing from my dream. And a tail at that. Spaded tail. Just like what I saw in my dreams the night prior. So, back to what I said at the beginning of this. I'm not the most superstitious person, but I'm not the least superstitious person either. And I've spent years trying to figure out what it could have been. I've even had AIs based on official, account on it, try to run different, potential, reasons behind it. Everything from, shared sort of, I don't know, sibling fear or something, but me and my brother definitely have very different fears. It would do all sorts of stuff. Gave me a bunch of different potential answers. I read through all of them, thought about it, for as long as I thought they were plausible. Everything from 2 seconds to 2 hours. Ew, little centipede there. None of it would really make sense for the story. So, I don't know, what do you think? Because, like I said before, this story inspired the Wendigo of the South. My first 3 videos up on this channel. Which, by the way, I'm going to be rewriting it for a Halloween special. I'm going to take more personal stories of my own paranormal encounters and mixing them into it. Just one, for the sake of just putting these experiences more out there. And for 2, just, well, I don't know, makes the story itself a bit more special. Anyways, what do you think it was? Was it a ghost, a ghoul, maybe a demon? I mean, based on the description, it sounds very demonic. Very, very demonic. So, I don't know. Anyways, I will see you another time. Goodbye.